Hello, I'm Kirby Holt, and I'd like to introduce you to a new product that I have created for the floral industry. It's called Featherstone, and it's a foam core product that has a stone finish. It looks very heavy, looks very much like rock. It's very lightweight. It's something that we as florists can insert into and actually take a wood pick and just push right into it. Because of the foam core that it has, the polystyrene just grabs that and holds it so that the wood picks hold it very well. You insert with wire, just a little bit of glue will do the same thing to hold it in very well. The product can be used in a lot of different ways. It is especially convenient for sympathy products, the set pieces that traditionally we have taken a lot of time to pave those pieces of styrofoam in the form of crosses or hearts and completely cover those with carnation heads or pom-pom heads. A little bit of ruffling around the edges. As you know, if you've done those are very time-consuming, labor-intensive. This is a product that you don't have to hide. It's beautiful, and the accent of the flowers is creates a beautiful product, something that you don't have to hide the stone look. It actually enhances the look of the flowers. To mount fresh flowers on here, one of the things that I do in my shop, you can of course use the little cages that come pre-made for you, very convenient, but it's something that will save a little bit of money. You can make several of these, probably about 12 of them out of one block of Oasis. And what I generally do is take one of the little blocks and score the edges just so that cut those rough, sharp edges off, and then use a little bit of waterproof tape. The 1/4-inch waterproof tape creates a nice grid to keep the Oasis from collapsing or falling apart as you use it in the design. Now I'll tape a grid on there, just much like we would have if we had used a cage, and dip that in the glue. I've just got a little hot glue pan over here. Adhere that right to the finish, and then I'll use 2 wood picks right through the foam down into the foam core product, and that right there will hold. Actually, you'd have a hard time taking it off if you wanted to. Just trim those wood picks back. You have a great form already ready to design into. Wet that and we're ready to go. One of the first products that I want to show you that I've created for you is a piece that I've used the 18-inch wreath ring to create. I've actually taken 3 of those little cages and mounted them in a triangle equally distant from each other on the top of the ring, with it laying horizontally. And then I've created just 3 little vignettes of flowers, 2 of them taller across the back that are joined with the arch of curly willow and plumosis, creating kind of a gardeny effect. This is a wonderful piece to use for an urn display at a memorial service, and memorial services are becoming such an important aspect of what we do with the floral industry in sympathy work. Many more creations are happening as that becomes more and more popular, and this is a wonderful way for the urn to be displayed at a memorial service. And here I have just a small urn that's placed right in the center there. A few of the rose petals broken up on that memorial table creates a wonderful, peaceful look to memorialize the life of the person. This is something that can be used individually on its own if it's placed on the altar or communion table in the church, or if it's done even in the home. This is a wonderful, very simple piece, and by the fact that all of the foam does not have to be hidden or covered, makes it go very quickly, and this piece can be done in about 15 or 20 minutes depending on the skill of the designer. Something that can be turned out very quickly, especially on those days when sympathy work is piled up and we have a lot to do. The next piece I'd like to show you is our 36-inch English cross, and this is the shaped cross that was commonly used by the Crusaders. And while it's a beautiful traditional piece, sometimes the lines of ethnic symbolism get in the way, but this is a piece that is not the situation, and it's something that's been a very popular seller for us. And I've actually just notched out the bottom right here. I've cut right into that foam and notched it on both sides so that it would fit perfectly right into the top of this square topped vase. And then I'm going to just drop a group of callas right into front of that cross in the vase. makes a very sleek, contemporary sympathy offering, and something that's very quick. It's a piece that has a high dollar value. If you wanted to sell it like this, it could be scaled down to maybe just 3 callas with grasses and be much less expensive. But it's a way that we can fill orders quickly, profitably, with a very masculine, textural, and strong colors that would reflect the personality in life. The next piece I'd like to show you is actually done on this plastic sympathy basket. I'm going to turn it here just so you can see the back and see the mechanic of what I've done. I've just attached the Featherstone basket handle. This is called the basket handle because it does actually fit and is made for this basket handle. And you can actually see here that it ends, it's cut. It is not the open heart, but is actually a piece made for the handle. And I've used just in 5 spots here, 2 places here, and 2 at the bottom, a little bit of hot glue with the wire attached right into that foam. And it attaches very well and adheres very well. Now you will find, because of the weight of the basket handle, when you first insert it, it is not extremely sturdy because the weight will make it wiggle some. And that's why it's important to use strong flower like a gladiola, liatris, any of those strong stem spike flowers, or maybe some branches like the curly willow or birch branches. Any of those that are placed vertically on both sides of the heart create stability for it. The nice thing about this piece is that it can be picked up and taken, moved very quickly, which is important to funeral home staff, or also for our delivery people. They can actually be turned back to back and grab 2 at a time and get them in very quickly. So those are one of the things that we had tried to keep in mind when designing this piece. Created just a strong vertical line right through the middle with these beautiful gladiola, grouping of the lilies on one side, the alstroemeria, and a little bit of that coffee out to the side. Love the texture of these wonderful aspidistra leaves. They're so smooth, and they do green up things very quickly. Just a few of those either used long or rolled, and a lot of creative things that we can do with these leaves. I've kept it fairly simple here, one for the sake of time, because one of the things I want to get across to you today is that these are products that will save time in your workroom while keeping your profitability high. This is a piece that does not require a lot of flowers. We have 3 stems of glads, 3 stems of lilies, 3 stems of alstroemeria, flowing effect of the broken heart, very new style, that tribute for you, something that can be put together very quickly. Here we have a collection of crosses that I'd like to talk about. This first one is a 36-inch Irish cross, and we've done it in a fairly standard or traditional way that we've presented it here. Have a color triad, the primary color triad, in the color scheme that we've used, the lilies, the yellow with the red centers, a little bit of that red alstroemeria, the yellow, and then the blue making that color triad. Just created a break or spray right across the middle, something that a very traditional use of materials, but by using the materials on a different type of cross gives it an entirely new look to an old standby that we've enjoyed for so many years. A little bit of overarching with the grasses, a little bit of looseness. The grasses, plumoses, different foliages peeking out in areas so that we have a new rendition on a very classical style of design. You see on the other side here we have the Irish cross in the 24-inch. This one we have chosen a monochromatic scheme, just the yellows with the greens and the little bit of brown, creating just a backdrop, those non-advancing colors. The yellow is very strong, very vivid, offset by those dark centers in the sunflowers. A little bit of deal. But the interesting part of this is the way that this cross is inserted into the spray. And I'm going to I have this sunflower hook with a piece of wire. You know, those little heads kind of tend to grow down the way they want to. Let's see if I can pull this cross out without, actually I have put 4, wow, that is really adhered into there good. I don't know if I can get it out without tearing up the design. But actually what I've done is just at the base of the cross I've taken 4 wood picks and glued them in at an angle. Actually the angle comes like this so that I can insert them from above, and those 4 wood picks would go down into that wet foam expand and really lock in. As you can see, it has really locked in because I can lift the spray by the cross without it even loosening at all. And if I try to take that out to demonstrate what I've done, I'll probably lose some of these flower placements, so I'm not going to do that. But just by taking 4 of the wood picks, angling them in from the bottom like this, hot gluing them in so that when I push it in, that wet foam grabs it and locks that cross into place. And then I've just used a little bit of wire to attach that head so that it goes in where I want it to. So that's the convenience of the texture and makeup of the Featherstone coming into play for us there. A little bit of raffia moving off to the side, kind of a non-traditional take on a spray with a cross inserted into it. Now in the center, I've taken one of the 36-inch standard crosses and with 4 wood picks placed into the bottom, just pushed it right down into the foam so that it's secured very well. I think we can probably pull this one out and show you. Here I have that liatris attached. You can see on the bottom, just use 4 of those wood picks, and that inserts directly into the wet foam and locks in place very nicely. And then the mechanic of that liatris just curve and kind of attach to the cross here and attach to the other piece of liatris here. So this piece has 4 liatris and 4 iris. I think there are 10 white carnations at the base. So not a lot of product, but a great deal of impact for just a few flowers. Very wonderful impact. Something that would not only be appropriate for a memorial service or for a funeral, but would also be wonderful for a Sunday morning church service. It would be wonderful at Easter time. This is a great piece that could be used just like that for Easter, or maybe instead of the iris, you may want to use all white with the Easter lilies. It's a wonderful way to demonstrate and use this product. Now I want to show you a take on using these products in a family spray. I have just a small rendition of a family spray, and we've used that wonderful Cascade saddle that kind of fits and rolls over the front edge of the casket. Very small piece, but creating a little bit of tension with the upward movement against that downward flow of the majority of the product in the design. I have the top of the spray open, and I have the small arch window with the cross. As you can see, we've lined those picks up across the bottom, and I can just insert that directly into foam. And I know that sometimes using the tall pieces, because of the height of the roof inside the hearse, we cannot always put something this tall to ride in the hearse, but by being able to insert something that easily, it could be pulled out for the trip from the church to the cemetery or wherever the body may be being taken, and easily inserted directly right back into that arrangement as soon as it arrives at its destination. So this is something that would allow us to create some height in a family spray. Also is wonderful to use for church arrangements. I've used this in my shop quite a bit for civil weddings that wanted some religious symbolism, and this allowed them to have that the cross with the garden window or the church window in the background. If I wanted to reflect religious symbolism, we call it a church window. If religious symbolism is not appropriate in that situation, then we call it a garden window, because it really works in either situation. I have just a pretty soft design, grasses, eucalyptus, caspia, just kind of cascading forward. But really the focal and feature of this design is this wonderful Featherstone arch window with the cross. And this is the 28-inch size with the, I believe that's about a 20-inch cross placed in the center of it. Now right next to it we have the open window. This is the large open window. That's about a 42-inch window in height. And this is a wonderful piece, as I spoke before, about pieces that do not need to have the religious symbolism. And if it's a gift that is coming from, say, a corporation for an employee who has passed away, this is something that would be very appropriate to send for that when possibly a cross or a heart or one of the other set pieces are not. For that reason, in my flower shop, this is a piece that we sell very, very often, because it is flexible and works for almost anyone, regardless of what their affiliation with the deceased person is. And I've created just kind of a parallel garden effect, and it just fills in the window Birch branches are placed in at the back. You can see those coming through there, creating a lot of texture across the back, and then the pretty pink larkspur just thrusting upward. Larkspur is a wonderful product to use because it doesn't require a lot of water, and it will hold even in the situations where the water is low. Then down near the bottom, closer to the water source, we have the limonium that accents the alstroemeria, the roses, and those beautiful stargazer lilies making up the focal area of the design. But again, it's not a lot of product. I think we have about 6 roses, 3 lily blooms, about 8 stems of larkspur, a little bit of limonium, and foliages will create a great impact, a large piece, but not very many materials, and a wonderful loose, open gardening effect that's very popular with our customers. Now this is the large arch window with the cross. A few minutes ago I showed you the small one. This is the large one. And to create the look in it, I'm going to insert just a few pieces of grass to get a little bit of a flow going. It's easiest if we insert that grass before we get started so that we have full access to the foam. Once we get those other materials in there, sometimes it's difficult to get access to the foam. So that's one of the little tricks I like to use, is putting the grass in if possible before I get very far along into the design. Just pushing it, kind of running into my tape grid there. See if I can get off of that tape. Apparently I've got a lot of tape up there. Alright. Now I'm going to put just a little bit of mimosas. Bring in just a little bit before we begin adding some of our flowers. This one I'm just going to do with red roses. Red roses are obviously a very popular selection for many family members when selecting sympathy flowers. Just a few insertions of foliages. And one of the things that I do to save time when designing is just go ahead and while I'm cutting, cut all my flowers so that as I insert, they go in quickly. And I don't have to continually recut everything. It's all done ahead of time and goes together very quickly. The red roses really create a nice color contrast against the ivory stone color of the featherstone. Okay, we want to do another grouping right down here. As you can see, this goes together very, very quickly. It's important if the roses stay out of water very long to give them a fresh cut as you insert them, because those ends tend to heal over just in a matter of a minute or so after they come out of the water. So in order not to put dry ends down into our wet foam, I'm just making a little cut on the bottom of every one of them. This has 18 of the red roses. Just a little bit of foliage. Really want to play up the impact of the red of those roses. I don't want to soften it too much with the foliages and diffuse it. By going into the corner of the cross, while we have concealed a little bit of it, the majority of the cross is very, very visible. One other thing I want to point out, the mechanic of what I've done here, I inserted, or I glued just a little piece of styrofoam. You can see right here, it's just a green styrofoam to the back of the cross so that I would be able to keep it straight from here. It brought the level even with the bottom, and just covered that with a little bit of natural Spanish moss so that it would just kind of hide right in there and cover up that mechanic. Now we could cover that with foliage, but the green would draw attention to it, where that natural Spanish moss tends to just kind of stay back there quietly and doesn't draw attention to itself, and it really allows the red of those roses to just make a lot of impact. Now, this piece has been in the background of several of the shots that we have made today. I've wanted to tell you about it. It is actually the small open window, and I've placed it in a design tray on top of the urn so that if we use this piece at a funeral, I can send the urn and the pedestal either as a loan piece or as a rental piece to the funeral home and to the church. And then we can recover those, bring them back to the shop, and this piece can either go to the home or to the cemetery. Now, this piece can be created just with one of the floral orbs, or the foam, wet foam orbs, and tape around it and insert just with some of the hyacinth stakes through it so that it will attach there, and just pave the roses and then the carnations around it, a little tuck of ribbon. And it's just a nice take on the design. Instead of using flowers like we have done in most of the other arrangements, this one has just really made a very distinctive shape with those flowers in the orb. And it'd be a wonderful tribute to send to a funeral home. But this also is something that out of my shop I use as a rental piece to go to wedding receptions to show the bouquets. And that's actually what I've done here, is just taken an attendant's bouquet or a bridal bouquet and laid it right into the window so that at the reception this can be a rental piece and be a wonderful way to display those bridal bouquets and attendance bouquets at the reception instead of just laying them on the table. We have a few creative ways that we do that, but this makes such a large piece. It's about a 3 foot tall or more arrangement with the attendance bouquet. This can go out as a rental piece. This can actually go, the whole thing can go out as rental and be recovered and used again and again. So that's a wonderful way, appropriate both for the fall or for the entire year when selling for a man's funeral. One of the new things that we have added to the line very recently in the past few weeks is a group of designer pieces. And it's actually just a collection of odd-shaped pieces of the Featherstone that you would be able to use in a variety of ways, both for daily work and for party work. And I want to show you just a few examples of some of the things that I've done to demonstrate that. This comes, the designer pieces come in a 6-piece set, and different shapes, different sizes, and it gives you a lot of flexibility in the way that you use it. Here I've taken a piece of the one of the designer pieces and actually just carved a hole out of the middle, and then I just hot glued it to the design bowl with a piece of wet oasis right through the Featherstone down into the bowl. So it's very easy to insert right through the rock into the wet foam beneath it. Just use 3 of the beautiful green callas, a couple of the stems of lilies, and a few of the cream-colored carnations for texture and basing at the bottom. And then a couple pieces of bamboo placed into it with a second Featherstone design piece attached to the top. So we really create a zone between them. And a wonderful way to use this at a party, you have a lot of visibility through the design, so if people are sitting across from the table from each other, then it's very easy to see through it, and the floral arrangement does not block conversation. It's easy to put some tea lights here and here, maybe tea lights up here, and sprinkle just a few rocks. And these are not a perfect match for what we've done there. So if you had some of the river rocks, and those could be spread on the table beneath them with a few of the candlelight, make a wonderful party centerpiece, as well as something that could be sent out for daily work. And that's just using 2 of those designer pieces from the 6-piece set. Now the piece next to it is actually a 3-foot strip. It's about 5 or 6 inches wide, 3 feet long. Creates just a really tall vertical piece right down the middle, and I've taken a little bit of the vine from the grapevine wreath, and actually that's the vine that goes around, spiraling around the wreath. We always want to save that, but aren't always sure how to use it because sometimes it's kind of unruly. It has that spiral effect, but it's perfect to kind of spiral right down that central piece of featherstone, and then just 2 pieces of the fishtail palm that we have trimmed up and up that little fishtail at the end with 3 gingers. So 2 palm leaves, 3 ginger blooms, one of the design pieces, and it creates a large, showy piece. Not a lot of money, not a lot of material, but it does have a lot of punch, a lot of visibility. This is something that I would use at a party. I'm in Florida, so we do a lot of the things that are on the beach and events either for personal or for corporations. This is something that works very well for corporate work, also for customers who have kind of a contemporary flair and want things that are a little bit artsy. This would be a perfect piece to sell them. And then I've taken kind of a matching piece you see right next to it, just one of the gingers and one of those pieces of palm that's brought over, creating an arch, and attached just with a little piece of raffia. And actually what I did here was, let's see if I can get that one out. I actually just scored one side of the foam and broke it on my knee, put a couple of wood picks in, and then just pushed it right into the foam so that we create 2 dimensions. One is placed in flat, one is placed in a little bit vertically. I guess vertically would be a good word there. Then just a little bit of paving at the bottom with the red carnations. Use the rolled aspidistra, a little bit of coffee. Just a lot of textural work there. Very simple, but very, very effective in kind of a modern look. Really a throwback to the modern look, and that we're enjoying the revival of right now.